Hello and welcome to the panel where we take a look at graphic novels and talk about their story, art, and everything in between. On this episode, we're going to be talking about a graphic novel that is near and dear to my heart. So get ready to deep dive into a comic series that's been going on for 45 years and is still going strong. Set in the world of Two Moons, we're talking about Elfquest. Joining me today, we have some incredible guests. So first, we have the Director of Community Content and Promotions and the voice of Rain in the Elfquest audio movie, David Mizejewski.
Hi, everyone.
And we have actress and the voice of Audrey in the Elfquest audio movie is Abby Eckenezer.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, thanks for joining me.
Of course.
Thrilled to be here.
I'm super excited about this. I've been wanting to cover Elfquest on the panel for a really long time. And I was like, I have great guests for this. So I know this is just going to be a fabulous, talk. So I'm excited. So let me go ahead and catch everyone up who doesn't know about what Elfquest is. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Elfquest, let me give you a little bit of background. Elfquest is a graphic novel series first published in 1978, depicting a race of elves known as wolf riders set in the world of Two Moons, generally authored or edited by husband and wife dream team Wendy and Richard Pini. Over the course of decades of comics, the wolf riders find friends, foes, friendship, and love with other tribes, creatures, and on occasion, humans. Created and published by Warp Graphics, an independent comic publisher created by Wendy and Richard Pini. I think it's Pini. Well, I'll have to get it corrected. Pini. I always mess it up. I'm like, I
Italian for fine, I believe.
I always say it the wrong way when I shouldn't.
Maybe it gets my word.
But I love
that you did
Warp
really good with mine too. So
what I love is Warp is actually it's Wendy and Richard
Pini.
And it's so it was an awesome concept of being completely owned and produced by the couple, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. So I should have mentioned during the introductions that y'all are big super fans of it even before the audio movie. So how did you each stumble upon Elfquest for the first time? What about you, Abby?
Well, actually, so I was in the Navy, and anytime we went on deployments, we didn't really have much to do besides all of the other many things that we had to do when we were on deployment. But we didn't really have a lot on our spare time to do. So I remember friends telling me before I left that I need to find things that I could either read or, get into. So I know this was years ago, obviously around the time of the Twilight series came out. Don't judge me. So I got through all my Twilight books. And I had already actually heard of the Elfquest series and read, some of the comics when I was younger, but having very non-constitutional parents, a lot of that stuff was taken away because, they're international parents, right? So anything that's comic book or geeky related, it's always bad or, it's the devil or something. So I didn't really get a chance to engulf it as much as I wanted to when I was younger. But I found a library of comics at the MWR and, kind of claimed those comics as for myself. Unfortunately, they got lost in the 5 to 6 moves that I did since then. But I was able to recollect some of the comics again, actually before I heard about the audio movie. So it was a really great opportunity to be a part of the background stuff that's involved in the audio movie and the production work and fundraising. And then, be asked to be one of the voices that I actually love the most, and have already cosplayed myself multiple times, especially during karaoke. So yeah, it was really great, and it was kind of like a dream come true when I was asked to be a part of the backside of the production and the fundraising. And then I did the open auditions, which you and I talked about, Mia. And even though I didn't get picked for any of the auditions, Fred was still happy with my audition and was like, hey, I actually, think that you would be perfect for this. And I was like, yes, yes. Yes. I didn't even know that, that they would have Audrey involved. I mean, because she's in the comics, but, I didn't know that they'd have her so involved in these first couple of episodes. And so I was just like, yes, oh my God, I'll do it. And I can't tell you, like, when we got a chance to hear Audrey's part, unfortunately, I couldn't be there because I actually had a funeral that I was at. But I love Jonathan. I love Fred. David already knows that I love him.
Beautiful.
I didn't even need to say that. But they emailed me and sent me all of the comments that people were saying when they heard my voice. And I can't tell you like what that did for me for the community, right? Being in this community already. And then, I mean, I'm thinking about it right now and I'm still getting goosebumps, but it was honestly the most, sorry, trying not to get super upset about this, but it was one of the most heartfelt things that I got a chance to receive, especially on a really, traumatic kind of day. And yeah, so yeah, this has just been like a whirlwind kind of thing. And then we all finally got to meet at Dragon Con and hug and cry some more. So yeah, it's been an interesting thing being involved in this family. I absolutely love it, and I can't wait for future episodes.
Oh, that's so awesome. I swear the Elfquest community is so full of just like the most loving people. Everyone is just so positive on social media and the fan club. Everyone is so just amazing.
Yeah.
So what about you, David? How did you first get into Elfquest?
Yeah, well, so I'm kind of a lifer. I started reading Elfquest when I was about 10 years old. A new kid in school showed up and had these amazing graphic novels. This was, a long time ago in like the mid 80s. And I just instantly fell in love. I was really drawn into the art on the cover of these books, which of course was done by Wendy Pini. And it was gorgeous. And it was like, it just literally sucked me in, seeing these two kind of very kind of alien looking elfin creatures in the woodland with wolves. It kind of appealed to all of the things that I love, which is nature and wildlife and fantasy and all that kind of thing. And I've been hooked ever since. And, I, for probably about the last decade or so, have been helping out with the Elfquest social media and helping Wendy and Richard do promotions and helping them out at appearances and things like that. So I'm kind of like a fan, but I'm kind of official nowadays too. And like Abby, I was super, super blessed to be asked to participate in the Elfquest audio movie, which I'm sure we're going to talk more about for folks that aren't familiar with it. But I am the voice of Rain the Healer. He has one line, which is about right, because I'm not a professional voice actor. It really was an honor and a thrill for me to get to just like you were saying, Abby. And Wendy and Richard have been so wonderful, as to get to meet some of your heroes and befriend them. I have been able to do has just been, for lack of a better word, and I know it sounds hokey, but it's coming right from my heart. It really is magical. I think of them as my fairy godparents. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here and just geek out with you both and with everybody watching, all about Elfquest, all about the comic series and the audio movie and all the other cool stuff.
Look, one line is huge, okay? Like, you carried that scene,
Thank you.
It's funny because David and I talked about it too. And, I was like, David, you have this voice that is very enigmatic, right?
Oh.
Like, everyone wants to listen to you. And I was like, there's some like VO stuff that I plan on doing because and I just want to like invite my friends, obviously pay you guys too. But and David was just, one of those voices. Like when I heard when I heard him in there, I was like, wait, is that, I had to rewind it. I was like, was that David? Was that David? Yeah. And a number of some of my friends were involved in it too, like Lisa Coronado, Claire Kramer, so it was just really cool to just go back and, friends that are like in the film world, and then you see them on TV and you're like, haha, screenshot, I just saw this person, kind of thing. So it was kind of like that, right? Because I feel like in the work that David and I have done in the production of this, we've become, really good friends, and like side conversations, about diversity and inclusion and stuff like that. Like this has just been so great. So it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, what was that? Say it. Like trying to listen closely and everything like that. And it's like the coolest thing. I absolutely love it. I love that I can say that I have more friends, involved in this too. And then Cree Summer, who's like been my idol forever since a different world.
Be in the orbit of Cree Summer via the Elfquest audio movie. And of course, Cree voices Saba, the mother of memory. She's kind of a key character through the whole saga. And she actually is the narrator in the audio movie, which is the adaptation of the first 5 comic issues of Elfquest and the novelization that Wendy and Richard wrote back in the 80s, just to, answer that question for anybody that might have it. But yeah, Cree is kind of holy cow, wow, just mind-blowing and amazing. And so, such a critical figure in the voice acting world. She's literally voiced like every character that you've ever heard of, from, Penny and Inspector Gadget to Rugrats to the Green M&M, all sorts of other things. I can't even rattle them all off. So yeah, I'm with you, Abby. Just being in the orbit of Cree is kind of like, holy cow.
Yeah, and it's an all-star studded cast too. So I know we're gonna get into that later, but I mean, just to be with, all of these other people who've been doing it or have just been in the film world, for so long, it was definitely just like an awe moment, and constantly, like when I forward stuff on social medias, it's just like, I can't believe I got to be a part of this. Like, I can't believe I got to do this. And I was in awe of David, for the longest time too, because he was the, person like for Elfquest. He embodied, the fandom and everything that was Elfquest. And so, when we became friends, I was just like, David's my friend.
Thank you, Abby. The feeling is mutual. And Mia, getting to meet you too, I feel like we have crossed paths a little bit at definitely on social media, because I'm doing all the Elfquest stuff. And I hope we get a chance to talk about your love of Elfquest and your cosplay, but getting to meet you kind of in person at Dragon Con, I'm sorry, at Awesome Con this past
Dragon Con.
No, Abby, you and I met in person for the first time at Dragon Con, but Mia and I met for the first time in person at Awesome Con in DC a few months prior to that. And so, yeah, I just like, one of you mentioned it, or both of you mentioned it, how I just kind of special the Elfquest community is, in a time where so many fandoms just, oftentimes are not fun places because there's so much infighting and, I'll use the word toxicity. Elfquest, is not immune to those things. They happen, but I just feel like it's escaped the worst of that. And I think that's because of the story. The Elfquest story is all about these beings who struggle, and they're just constantly, kind of being othered and sort of attacked for who they are, and trying, in some cases, there are forces trying to wipe them out of existence. And the quest in Elfquest is this sort of struggle to like kind of find your place in this world and find your kin and your tribe and the people that are like you, and being okay to be yourself and owning that and all of that good stuff. And it really speaks, I think, to so many of us who have felt those same feelings of othering in our lives for whatever reason, right? And so I feel like the Elfquest fandom has come together and kind of rallies around the stuff that's in the story. It's really about treating each other the best way that we can. That's what Wendy and Richard Pini say about kind of the way the elves in the story are. And it's such a great inspiration, I know, for me. And I'm not even lying when I say, like, almost on a daily basis, because I've grown up with these stories. and they're such a part of me, like down to like my spirit level, that I do think, like, if I could react A or I could react B, and how would the elves act, And so I think a lot of Elfquest fans do that, and we see such a care and a community within the fandom that is just really, really special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the story is what really, I think, like, joins us all together, like, as far as a family. So let's go ahead and start talking about the story, because yeah, let's just dive right into it. So a little bit about the writers. So while the husband and wife team collaborate on the ongoing story as co-writers, Richard has also played the primary role of editor. Interestingly, he has a background in astrophysics from MIT, which led him to lecturing and teaching before becoming a full-time writer for the comic, which I thought was really, really cool when I looked that up. So let me look. Oh, we actually have some comments that have already come in. Let's see. Skyfire 5. I said it wrong for 40 plus years, not alone. See, I'm always like, what is it? And then I'm too embarrassed to ask. So yes, now I know.
And you know what? That's actually kind of true too of a lot of the elf character names too. It's not just like real life human names. Like a lot of people, I have read comments when they've actually heard one of these live streams or heard the audio movie and heard a character's name said outside. They're like, oh my gosh, I've been saying that wrong the whole time. It's okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. If we ever have a real life daughter, she will be named Scala. Think about it.
How's that, Richard and Wendy?
Oh yeah, so Wendy and Richard are watching. Hi, Wendy and Richard.
Hi. This is so cool. No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure.
Charles Grew. I'm also an old reader. Started in the early 80s. Middle of book 2 came out in monthly issues.
Amazing.
Nice. So glad to see its popularity still going after all these years, right?
Well, it's amazing. That's actually a really, I think, important point. I think there's a lot of folks that got hooked on Elfquest back in the late 70s and 80s when the original story arc was being told. And, Wendy and Richard have been telling Elfquest via comics this entire time. In fact, this year is the 45th kind of birthday year of Elfquest. The first issue of Elfquest came out on February 28th in 1978. So in not too long here, we're going to be on the actual birthday. And so, Elfquest has gone on. Dark Horse Comics is the publisher. Wendy and Richard started out publishing through Warp Graphics, their own company. They've been published by Marvel, by DC, and now Dark Horse, who has produced these incredible books. The one that you're seeing on your screen, it's the Office editions of Elfquest. So it's collecting like pretty much the entire canon story of Cutter, who's the main character of his quest, from 1978 all the way through to 2018 with the conclusion of the story arc, the final quest, which is not the end of Elfquest, by the way. But anyway, if you have only read the beginnings, definitely seek those out. They're all in print. You can get them from any bookstore or comic shop and get caught up because there's so much that you've missed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this the first volume. She's thick.
Yeah.
That's just the original quest. There are 6 more volumes that big. It's a lot of books, so.
So what in particular drew you to the story, David?
Like I mentioned already, just sort of some of these themes of kind of, these people who are kind of persecuted just for who they are. I think a lot of us resonate with that because we face that in various ways in our own lives. I'll be honest, when I started reading, I was a 10-year-old boy. So I really loved the action. There's some incredible battle scenes and fights and things like that. But, as I've gotten older and more mature, I realized that's really just sort of, that's kind of like the little extras that are part of Elfquest, because really at its heart is this story about love and belonging and not having taboos. I mean, Elfquest is pretty radical. It was pretty radical for the time, and I think remains so today, in the way that it dealt with things like, just sort of, elves with brown skin, for example. That's a huge thing that people are raging about today in the wake of the Lord of the Rings and other modern fantasies. But Elfquest has been doing this since 1978, and just as natural as breathing, right? Because that's the way, you know, people of all colors exist. So why wouldn't they exist in a fantasy story? So stuff like that appealed to me. You know, growing up, you know, a gay kid that was not out and was, you know, terrified of being outed until literally like like post college. Seeing those stories really bolstered me throughout my youth and my young adulthood. And, you know, honestly, a lot of the courage that it took to actually come out in real life, you know, 20 plus years ago, I can credit to the strength that Elfquest gave me as a story, and as an inspiration. So those things appeal to me. And I can't finish this without just saying that it's Wendy's art too that is just mind-blowingly
Oh
gorgeous.
yeah.
And I'm really glad that we're showing panels in black and white. The Dark Horse omnibus books we were just talking about showcase this art as it was originally drawn and published, which was black and white. And Wendy is a masterful inker. And I think a lot of times the color work kind of overshadows that. So I just wanted to give a shout out for that. But yeah, Elfquest has all of that stuff in it. Great story, a lot of action, a ton of heart, beautiful art. It's just everything.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to touch on the art. And for me too, that was one of the things that when I first saw it as a kid, I saw it in black and white. And so for me, it was one of those identifying with the characters. I had never seen a character with, you know, like Asian, you know, the very kind of exotic eyes. And so I was like, oh, it's a character that has eyes like me, like maybe it's me. And I'm just that like, so I think like being able to identify with the characters, and there's like a character for everyone, I feel like, is something that really just draws you in from the beginning. So
Yeah,
what about
representation, effortless representation, I think is what has drawn a lot of us to Elfquest, from whatever that means for us individually.
Exactly. What about you, Abby?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say the same exact thing. Honestly, it was the first time that I saw, you know, darker skinned elves in the comics. And I was just like, what is this? You know, this is not a thing, right? It's not something that you see. And so it was really important to me because, I mean, later on that kind of affected, you know, all of the work that I did, you know, in the film world. Like most of the type of projects that I do are about inclusivity. And, you know, not just recently, but at least 3 or so years ago, I started doing sensitivity readings, which is something that I got to do on the Elfquest scripts, which was, you know, really, really great to be a part of. But, you know, it was just one of those things where it's like, representation matters. You know, we all know that, right? Little kids growing up now with just so much stuff going on in the world right now. It's so important to have something to look up to. And when you're in a war zone, and, you know, like your thing that you do wake up to is bombs going off in the different distance, having something to read to kind of escape the world that you're currently in, which is what Elfquest was to me. It was a huge escapism piece, reading the different comics and everything like that. And I jumped around, obviously, because I had to read what was available to me, and I couldn't really go anywhere else, you know, where we were at. And so it was something that I was just like, okay, when I go home, I need to get more of this. And I need to like just figure out what happened to, you know, like just all of these different characters like Joyleaf and Cutter and Scouter, like, and then also what David was talking about too, like being a queer person, like I'm a non-binary individual, and so, you know, having these different creatures, these different characters be whoever they want to be, and not have to justify who they are or what they wanted to do or who they wanted to be with. You know, it was something that was just like, this is something that I've always been looking for. And I'm glad that, you know, it's just in this series, right? In the comic book world. Cause, you know, don't get me wrong. Like I love comics in general, Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, you know, it's just all of the different ones that they have out there. And this one just spoke to me so much because I could see myself in a lot of these characters. So.
Oh, I love this. I love the loving of Elfquest and in Elfquest. But now I'm going to ask y'all a really hard question. So, which character is your favorite and why? Who wants to start? Abby's like cringing.
I mean, yeah, it is a hard question. How are you gonna?
I know.
You go first.
So, I mean, and for context, again, for the folks who maybe haven't picked up Elfquest yet, there's a lot of characters. There's like something like 700 named characters, and there's profiles for most of them, by the way, on the Elfquest website, which is elfquest.com.
Amazing.
Head there, but I am gonna hone it down and narrow it in because my very first favorite elf is a character called Redlance. And Redlance is he's a plant shaper. He's got this magical ability to like make plants grow. And you know, at my heart, I'm a total nature geek. And again, this is something that drew me to Elfquest. It was set in the natural world, and it had beautiful renditions of wildlife. And you know, wolves are really key players. And just this sort of the art that Wendy created of these lush forests, it just literally spoke to my soul. And so when I was introduced to Redlance, not only was he this very kind of, you know, nature spirity type, and he had this magical ability to grow plants, which I thought was really cool. He also, you know, one of the things that, again, kind of is kind of groundbreaking about Elfquest is how it really just effortlessly, completely busts and eliminates and downstruck gender roles in so many different ways. And so Redlance is this really gentle guy. He, you know, he's not a warrior. He loves to sort of just kind of be in nature. He's the guy who watches the cubs, and I just very much related to that. You know, and I don't know. I just loved him from the beginning. There he is, right there, and I still love him to this day. I consider him my patron elf. And I'm a gardener nowadays, you know, in my adulthood, and I have plants growing everywhere. So like, I definitely channel the Redlance spirit, but there's like 100 other characters I could say as much about.
I know, it's a really hard question. I had to do it. All right, Abby.
So I'm pretty sure this is going to be the same for a lot of people, but Lita is my soul sister. I don't know if we ever talked about this, Mia, but I do a lot of like Dungeons and Dragons, whether it's like Pathfinder or or just so all of the different campaigns, and I'm always a healer. I play World of Warcraft, always a healer. And so having a character that is it just represents like my my like way of thinking. Like I'm the type of person, I guess you could say if we go into like the Harry Potter universe without really going into the Harry Potter universe, but my personality is very Gryffindor. Like if I have friends and friends need help or anything like that, I am rushing in and saying, "What do you need?" You know, with my crest on and everything like that. How can I help you? And so you know, she just has that type of personality, even at odds, you know, with this completely different you know, looking type of elves that she runs into or she ends up getting kidnapped by. You know, she still wants to help, right? She still wants to do whatever she can to heal, because she's always the bigger person. And I love that so much about her. You know, I see her as just being this beautiful matriarch. And I saw her a bit I mean, I see Wendy there also, right? So that was just, you know, so important to me to embody that. And she's so damn stubborn and headstrong. And I love her so much for being that way, because I'm like, look, it's okay to be stubborn. It's totally okay for that. And she represents that, but it's a stubborn beauty, right? And she's gorgeous on top of that too, you know, like, I mean, her and Audrey, like, I love the way that Wendy drew all of these different characters, but you know, Lita was the one that stood out to me the most.
Yeah, I loved her. Yeah. I see mine, and I'm trying to think because you were like saying how you play healers, and so it's Lita for you. I was like, okay, so mine is Skywise. Like I named my first cat Skywise. I don't know. I'm a sucker for the ladies, man. Like, and I'm like, but I also like rogues. So I'm kind of like, does that work?
I think Skywise could be characterized as a rogue in some fashion.
Absolutely, definitely.
There he is.
There he is.
He's definitely the ladies' man, though.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. It's funny, like working, just being part of the Elfquest fandom for all these years. Skywise, I think, hands down, is probably like the biggest fan favorite character. Like everybody loves him, and he's impish, he's puckish, he's an astronomer, which comes directly out of Richard Pini's love of the stars and his background as an astronomer, yeah, he's just a great guy. Interestingly though, and Abby, I was thinking about this when you were just talking about Lita. Mm-hmm. I was talking earlier about how long the story of Elfquest has gone on, and so these characters, like people in real life, go through evolutions and changes, and that's one of the best things about the story for me. Elfquest has never been kind of rebooted. It's literally the same story and the same characters and the same sort of storyline that is being told all of these years. And so the characters have really, really evolved. And in fact, the most recent series is all about Skywise. It's called Stargazer's Hunt. Mm-hmm. And the last part of it came out, about 6 months ago. So that's something to definitely, check out if you're a Skywise lover. Really, really major stuff happens. It's kind of a follow-up to the Final Quest storyline. So, and Lita herself has some pretty significant changes in her, not only her personality and her character, but like her role in the story too. I won't give away spoilers if you haven't read it.
All right, one last question before we go into the artwork. What is something about like the story? Is there a favorite moment or something that about the story that really like that you love? Like mine is the idea of soul names and kind of just knowing at that moment that that's your one. I wish that was a thing because that would make dating dating sites so much easier. Because it's like swipe right. Oh, I know this one's name. Yeah, there we go.
God, that's me too. And I love that's how you feel about that. Like just having like the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, your life mate. I've not gotten into, but I've been a huge avid fan of K-dramas, especially of late. And that whole meeting for the first time and dating and then not dating and then knowing for sure that this is the person that you're supposed to spend your rest of your life with. And just having the signals, that's there, that's right in front of you. There's no questions, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's I love it. It's such a beautiful thing. And it gives you so much certainty that there is somebody that is out there for you. And I'm a romantic at heart. I will always be a romantic. And I just think it's a really, really beautiful thing. And so I'm glad that that's something that's, represented in the comics and the struggle, that's involved with it too. Like people who question being a life mate with another person. So yeah, that was really cool seeing that and then seeing the opposite of that.
Yeah, I'll build on that too, because I think this is one of the neatest things. Because while you have this sort of concept of, kind of life mates and soulmates, and this whole thing called recognition, where you kind of meet your soulmate, at the same time, one of the most powerful things in Elfquest is that the way that kind of relationships are portrayed is completely free and open. And this is part of that, what I was talking about a minute ago about sort of busting gender norms. But even beyond that, the whole principle here is is freedom and respecting other beings' freedom. And so the elves are very open and casual when it comes to these relationships. And, some of this comes from kind of, the 60s, 70s kind of free love attitude that, kind of impacted Wendy and Richard when they were younger and beginning to tell this story. But I think it's totally relevant today and kind of just rethinking kind of some of the rigidity and some of the rules that we have in society for how we kind of relate to each other. And so in Elfquest, anything's game as long as it's, consensual and among adults, right? Like all forms of pleasure are valid. All forms of relationships are valid, even if, for the most part, they do kind of fall into kind of hetero pairs, if you will. The idea is that anybody could really, have fun with anybody else. And, we have seen over the years representation of beautiful polyamorous couples and more recently straight up same-sex couples. So it's kind of, again, it warms my heart and it makes me feel seen. And it's powerful and it's important.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
All of that.
We got to get into the art because it's so hard to discuss. Oh, wait. We got a comment from Charles. I've had a crush on Lita for 40 years. So many reasons. Charles.
Same.
So it's no surprise that my ex-wife that I'm still friends with is a very strong-willed, redheaded kind of healer. Oh, I love it. That's so cute.
Life in a art.
That is awesome. Seriously.
555. If there's time as a request, I'd like to send out. I mentioned to Frank Schulmeyer, composer of EverQuest audio movie soundtrack, inspired me to play drums again.
Yeah, that Frank Schulmeyer is the composer for the music in the Elfquest audio movie. So, taking this sort of beautiful comic book, which I know we're going to look at the art in a second, and translating it into this audio experience, again, that Audrey and I got to be voices in. And the music really is mind-blowing. You can hear some of it on YouTube for the trailer. And by the way, the whole audio movie is available for everybody as a free 10-episode podcast that you can listen to pretty much on all the major podcast players. It's on Apple, it's on Spotify, it's on Google Podcasts. Just search Elfquest and you'll hear the music. You'll hear Abby as Audrey. I think I just called you Audrey a minute ago.
Audrey, you did.
Abby, but
I'm okay with that.
So definitely check that
out. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start moving on to discussing the art. So Wendy took to the arts at an early age. Her interest in fantasy was inspired by Shakespeare and Kipling, and her artistic inspiration is said to have come from Victorian illustrators, as well as Disney, Jack Kirby, and manga artist Osamu Tezuka. And I don't know why, but I can just picture her as like a little girl and like doing drawings of like fantasy like creatures. And I just picture it. It's just so cute. I love it.
I think it's pretty spot on. There's a whole book called The Art of, or The Line of Beauty, The Art of Wendy Pini, that is out, that if folks are interested in kind of doing a deeper dive into, Wendy's artistic background, you can do that. Richard actually wrote it. So it's all images and pieces of art from their personal archive. And Mia, you're absolutely right. There are pictures that Wendy drew as like a very, very little girl of little elfin creatures, I think on pages of books or maybe even on the wall. I can't remember. And she's been drawing these beings ever since she was that age. And so for sure, I think it's part of the magic.
That is so cute. I love it. I love it so much. All right, so what drew you to the art of Elfquest? Like, what was it when you saw it you were like, this is the book for me? Let's go with Abby.
Well, in looking at Audrey's character, and it's so funny because David knows that we got these cute little place cards. And so if you look at Audrey and then you look at me and I'm like, oh my God. Besides the fact that like so many people were like, oh my God, these elves, they, like it was funny, like in some of the fan groups, you saw people who would look at or take individual characters and they would say, oh my God, this actor would be perfect because they look like them and, all of that other stuff. So it was so transformative. Like you could literally see yourself, in the character. And that's one of the things that I love so much about Wendy's art is that, all of these characters could look like real life human beings in the world today, like just ridiculously realistic. And You know, Wendy knows that, like, I absolutely love her drawing so much. And I cried when we were at Dragon Con. I cried when Thomas Trin got his drawing, because he was like tearing up himself. So Wendy made these like specialized drawings of each of us as our characters. And just seeing Thomas cry next to me, I started crying for him. So it's just, it's a gift. It really is. It's a gift to behold, and getting a chance to be in that world and look at that art, you know, on a daily basis it's inspiring. It really is.
I'll second that. I mean, let's face it, the elves are freaking hot. So that's,
Yes.
that's the point. I mean, they are these like idealized, you know, sort of versions of essentially human fantasy, and that's actually part of the story, you know, part of their history. And so they're meant to look appealing to humans, and you know, it doesn't help that they have ripped abs and you know, and are, you know, curvilinear and delightful to look at. But you know, as far as the art, I think, you know, deeper than that surface level kind of sexiness that they have, Wendy's art is just so organic. And again, I mentioned I'm a nature lover. I think on a very innate level, my soul kind of recognized the beauty that was there, because it is so drawn from nature. And you know, you can see a lot of sort of Art Nouveau influences in Wendy's work. A lot of these like twirling, curving shapes that you see in nature. And again, it's just kind of inherently beautiful. So that is something that really drew me to it. And I think, I mean, I'm sticking with the nature theme here. The fact that wolves were in it, and you know, as Wendy evolved her art pretty rapidly within in the original quest, began to depict wolves in such a beautiful, very lifelike way. I mean, they're always stylized, as you can see here, but like it's rare to see animals drawn well.
Yeah, right.
I mean, and so to see somebody who focused on being able to depict these beautiful animals from the real world into this story, and their kinship with these beautiful elfin characters, like, again, just on like a very like soul level, it just spoke to me. And like I said, I was sucked in from the very beginning.
Yeah,
there's good old Bearclaw and Blackfell, his wolf. Like, I mean, just look at that art. It's just, how do you not get drawn in by that? Don't you just want to know who the heck that character is, and what is he doing gambling down there with those creatures? Like, you don't even have to know anything about it, and you're like, I want to read that.
Even the eyes too. Like, if you're looking at the eyes of all of these different characters, like, and each person is different, but it feels like you could see something different in each and every single one of them. They're so soulful, right? So it's just something that's just really beautiful, and just, you know, it literally pulls you in. And that's one of the things that I absolutely loved about the comics was that, you know, there's so much detail in each and every single character, and surrounding, and animal, and plant, you know, and flower that you can see, even the dewberries.
I just want to get this
the
in.
eyes, they have souls from Sapphire. Yeah, they do.
No, but Wendy is a complete genius when it comes to character design. And Abby, you just kind of said it, you know, like, their eyes are so expressive, but like every single character is unique and different. Like, you look at these characters and you never are confused about who you're looking at. And that is a skill that, like, you just don't see that often. And part of that is the sort of the twin skill of being just a killer fashion designer. I mean, the clothes that Wendy comes up with to put these elves in are rad. They're beautiful. They're just like, the creativity is just, it blows me away, because I am not creative in that way. Like, I wear a t-shirt and jeans, and like, that's as far as I go. But like, the stories that Wendy tells through the clothing is just, I have no more words. So
Mhm.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things. I mean, I don't know if it's because I just love fashion or if it's because I'm a cosplayer, but I love all the fashion, especially because I feel like I should have been born in like the 70s. Like I should have been there during that time. So that clothing, I'm just like, oh, it's amazing.
Mhm.
Is there a particular design, either character design or even outfit, that like really sticks out to you?
I mean, I'm gonna have to go with Cutter's fur vest. We talked about sexiness, right? Like, here's this guy. He's got a ripped body. He, walks around with no shirt on and this fur vest, which just gives him that sort of brawny football player look, even though he's kind of a very slight elf. And it's just, it's mwah. Sometimes less is more.
I love Audrey's sundress, and the jewelry that she wears. It's very reminiscent of some like African jewelry that I've gotten a chance to see, and so that was very beautifully cultural for me, at least. It absolutely, I was like, I need to figure out a way to design this. Obviously, as a cosplayer, we don't do anything that we set ourselves out to because we're working on 1,000 other different things.
Mhm.
But it is the hope to one day make Audrey's dress and the necklace that she wears and everything, and her big earrings. I was like, oh my god, that's like Newark, New Jersey, girl.
I love it.
Oh my gosh.
Wendy never designs a character costume that can't actually be made. Ooh, I
Well, I think that
cosplayers
is a
appreciate
I
that
feel
so
like that's
much.
Richard saying that too.
that is a challenge, Abby. And
It really
I was kind of thinking the same thing as you were just talking about. Those earrings, I mean, I don't know anything because I'm not a cosplayer or a jewelry designer, but I could see that being something that might not be that difficult to make, even if it's just simple materials.
Yeah, I think
So,
it could be 3D printed. And I have tons of friends that have 3D printers. So, it's honestly just like reaching out to the cosplay community and probably doing it because we have Emerald City Comic Con coming up. So,
right, we got to see it. Make sure you post and tag everybody.
yeah, right.
Let's see. The anime-like art is what drew me to Elfquest from Draco Dawn. Elfquest has indeed been called the first American manga. I
Yes.
love that.
Yes,
Yeah,
so
I see that too. That's really something I loved about it too as well. Now, before we move on to talking about the audio movie, is there a particular moment where like the art and the story, it was just that was your favorite moment to ever see?
This
I
is
know
hard when I'm picking a favorite character.
I know. I'm sorry. I gotta do the hard question.
I can't do it. I can't. I can't. I love, I mean, it would be really hard to say that there is a particular part of Wendy's art that was, my favorite. I think I could say one that affected me the most potentially was when they had to leave their home. When you see them like journeying out of their their home and everything because the humans are setting everything on fire. That was very reminiscent of a lot of friends who I've known over the years that have had to migrate from their homes because of some type of terrorist activity. And so it was definitely like it got me like right in the heart, because seeing a scene like that is just seeing panels of that was absolutely heartbreaking. Anyone who has to do something traumatic like that was that was the most effective for me, like having them leave, and then also going to going into the desert on top of that, and seeing the animals get worse and worse. Any type of animal cruelty to me is just horrible. So seeing all of that too is just like really depressing.
No. What about you, David?
I mean, again, there's just so many of them and they all have sort of different reasons behind them. But I'm going to go with something from the Stargazer's Hunt story that again is the most recent Elfquest series to come out. And again, I don't want to spoil it, but there's a particular scene towards the end where some of the kind of catharsis is coming in from this whole story arc, and it's to do with Skywise. The series is about him, and he's the Stargazer, but it really is kind of a reconciliation and a closing of the loop of something that kind of remained out there that was like kind of traumatic and problematic, and it's just so beautiful. And it kind of sums up that everything that Elfquest is about. It's about love and joy and acceptance and letting go, and just the deep bonds that we can have, regardless of what we look like on the outside. So that's what I'm going to go with. And I guess if I just want to throw in a second one, which is from the original quest, and it is the opening scene where we hear the story of Mad Coil, which is that monster we've seen a picture of on screen. And it's the first time you get to see the Wolf Riders, which, like Abby was just saying, in the beginning get burned out of their woodland home and they become refugees. And then there's a flashback where you see them during kind of a more peaceful time. And you see the whole tribe of these woodland elves kind of going out on a hunt. And that's it right there. That is where, like, that's my version of heaven. To say it in very simple words, and that doesn't really kind of describe it. Like, that is where my soul lives. Yeah. And when I saw that on the page, I was like, that's home. That's where I want to be. And so that one really stands out to me as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay. So now, we got Vanessa saying the battle scene of Cutter and Rayek were intense. Yes. Yes. I love that whole battle.
We've talked a lot about kind of the touchy-feely stuff here, but I said it before, like, Wendy can draw a kick-ass battle scene. And so in the original quest, there's a bunch of them. There's a whole war, that fight between Rayek and Cutter, which was inked by John Byrne, who is a big name in comics, Superman and other things. There's an early battle between Cutter and Rayek. So yeah, like, there's some high drama, high action stuff for people that are into that as well. Swords and blood and all that drama.
Love that. All right, so let's go into the audio movie, because I want to make sure we go into this before the show has to end. So I wanted to know, first off, it's such an amazing concept. I love it, and it's so well done. Where did the idea to do an audio movie come from in the first place?
I can take that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know, but yeah.
We'll do it together. What I know is that Richard Pini was looking to reissue some of the old audiobook versions of Elfquest that were produced like back in the 80s and the 90s. And as he kind of made inquiries out there, he met some really incredible people, Fred Greenhalgh being one of them. And the idea went from being kind of just like a typical audiobook to an audio movie, which the concept is like an audio production that is sort of theatrical, right? So it's a whole bunch of actors, voice actors, and a full musical score and sound effects, and it's just immersive. It's much more than just an audiobook experience. And here we are a few years later, and the thing is out, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I know that because we talked about this in depth, especially with Richard and Wendy, and it came down to the fact that the fans wanted a movie, right? And there were ideas for a movie, and there were almost steps for it, but Richard and Wendy were just not in love with the fact that anytime they tried to produce this beautiful product to Hollywood wanted to change everything. Right? That's like the typical story with Hollywood. They want to make it bigger and better and what they believe is bigger and better. And, Richard and Wendy were like, no, we want it made the way that, we want it to be done and the way that the fans, would love it. And it was really important to them, that the fans got to be immersed in something that was considered a movie, even if it wasn't visual, right? It was still an audio version of it. And so when they met Fred, I know there was a story behind, because his original media company was Dagaz Media, and I still believe that he still does that. But there was something in the name that they loved so much, and that was just kismet, working with Fred. And then Jonathan Woodward was there also. And so, and, he's just this big time, amazing producer and human being, and everything. And so, David and the team from Fantasy Network, which is, what are the streaming service that I work with, along with, the Zombie Orpheus Entertainment. We put together this big fundraiser and did like a pre-sale, or a pre kind of MDiv strike to see, how, yes, Dagaz is the rune of breakthrough. So, that was something that kind of drew the Pinis to Fred. And then it just turned into this big, beautiful thing. And the one thing I know about Fred, because I've worked with him outside of this, is that some of the content that they produced on Realm, he just came over to Realm FM, big named actors doing all of these beautiful audio movies that literally immerse you so much into the world of what you're listening to. Completely different from audiobooks, especially because I am someone who does audiobook work. I read for different audiobooks on Amazon, Audible. And so, what we do with that is completely different than what, Fred does. It's literally an immersive, type of world. So it's the best thing to having an actual movie, or having a visual movie. And I mean, you feel it. You feel all of the characters. You feel the deaths. David.
Yeah.
You feel it. You feel the creatures and the birds in the background. And the one thing that Fred got a chance to do, especially with people who were early backers, anyone who donated in the earlier Kickstarter campaign got a chance to be wolves, in the background of some of the audio, the different audio episodes. So, that was a chance for fans to actually get a chance to be involved in the audio movie, themselves. And I actually was like, yeah, I want to do that. So I'm going to buy all of this really cool merch, which I did. And I got little minis, which I was super excited about. And then I sent Fred my wolf sounds and everything, not even thinking that I was going to be involved in the actual episodes itself. But, it was just the coolest thing to be a fan working on this and getting a chance to, add my voice, I guess, even if it was a wolf. Like, it's like, I can say that I was a part of the audio movie, before I even got a chance to be Audrey. So,
Aww.
Yeah. Again, I'll echo everything that Abby just said, in terms of kind of what it is and how it came to be. And yeah, I mean, Fred as the producer and director, and Jonathan Woodward, who I know is watching, they really did a mind-blowingly amazing job with this. And I say that as an Elfquest fan. Nothing is ever going to match the version that each of us has in our own mind. There's literally, millions of different versions of what Elfquest is, but what they were able to do with Fred Schulmeyer and the actual music and everybody else that was involved, all of the different voice actors, like really so captures Elfquest. And the response overwhelmingly from the Elfquest fan community, and even outside of the fan community, kind of backs that up. Not everybody loved it, but you can't please everyone, right? The 99.999% of the comments that we've gotten have been just glowing, and that's a real testament to the love that went into it. And I want to just shout out to some of the also incredible talent, beyond me and Abby. There's some really important, like names out there that I think people watching will recognize. Ray Porter, who was Darkseid in the Justice League movie, among many other things.
Mhm.
Voiced a bunch of different characters. Tim Russ from Star Trek.
Yes.
Amber Benson from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Aaron Douglas from Battlestar Galactica, just to name a few off the top of my head of the heavy hitters that are part of this production. And they really just, like, again, poured love into it, and you could hear these characters that we've only seen on the page completely come to life.
Yeah, Osric Show from Supernatural, Nicole Maines from Supergirl. Like, you know, some of these people, it was just like, it was an awe experience, you know, getting a chance to, you know, be in the same project as all of them. And I absolutely love it, you know, especially this character right here.
Oh, it's even signed. You got a signed one.
Yes.
I got it autographed because I really needed to have it autographed.
I'm blushing again seeing that you asked me to autograph that for you, Abby. So sweet, and I'm
so cute.
So flattered. Richard and Wendy posted Robert Picardo, also from Star Trek fame, plays Picnos the Troll. Nicole Maines, Thomas Trin, like all of these folks are just Alejandro Saab, who is I believe a big name in sort of anime voice acting. Zara Fazel also I believe is well known in that world, and who voices Moonshade. Alejandro, of course, voices Cutter, and again kind of just came in from out of nowhere, wasn't an Elfquest fan, and was able to like literally embody the voice of Cutter in such a perfect way that it just exudes love. And to me, that's what Elfquest is all about. So when a project like the audio movie comes down the pike and it just seeps that, it couldn't be more Elfquest for me.
Yeah, and the one thing I got to find out about Alejandro is that I think his voiceover teacher was a huge Elfquest fan.
Oh yeah,
so it was kind of like a roundabout circle, you know, kind of thing.
Alejandro's voice acting teacher is Sonny Strait, who has been Wendy Pini's art collaborator on Elfquest for like 20 years.
Yeah,
he has helped illustrate Elfquest, and you know he himself is a big fan. And so yes, it's you know, all of these little interconnections, they're out there, and it really is like one big, you know, sort of Elfquest fan tribe, just like the characters in the comic.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that there's all these like interconnections, and I love it.
Yeah. And also, don't forget about the bread lady, who is played by Wendy herself.
The bread lady is like this tiny little one panel, very background character in like one of the very first issues. And, you know, she has a speaking line because when the Wolf Riders raid the Sun Village, they're trying to get food, and Skywise like grabs her loaf of bread. And so her line is, my bread, my fresh baked bread. And the story behind how Wendy Pini herself came to voice that character is that I was lucky enough to kind of listen to some of the early cuts. And in the production, they had a male person reading, there she is right there, reading that line, which of course is fine. But, you know, being an uber Elfquest geek and knowing this fandom and knowing that the bread lady has like cult icon status amongst Elfquest fans, that I was like, I gave the feedback to Fred that, you know, it would be really great if we could get that to be a female voice actor, because people really love this character, and there would be no way that he would have known that otherwise. And so not only did they change the voice to, you know, to be a female voice, but they one-upped it and they invited Wendy herself to do it, which she did brilliantly.
I love it. I love that so much.
And one other thing, I think when I was promoting it on my socials, one of my friends, Katie Laird, who has a hearing impairment, was kind of, you know, upset because she loves the world of Elfquest, but unfortunately, it being an audio movie, you know, she thought that she wouldn't be able to listen to it. And I don't know if that's what sparked it, or, I mean, I know we had conversations about it, making sure that everyone was able to enjoy the audio movie. But, you know, Fred eventually made sure that they had ASL interpreters involved so that the movie was also accessible to anyone who had a hearing impairment too, which was absolutely amazing.
Oh,
Yeah,
I love
absolutely. And that is up on Realm, who is the sort of the production company that we teamed up with, who's kind of hosting the free version of the audio movie that everybody can listen to as a 10 episode podcast. If you go to their YouTube channel, you can see all of the American Sign Language version, which are also closed captioned, the adaptation of the audio movie there. It's pretty stunning when you actually sit and watch it. And I don't know ASL, but again, I think that it was all just in the spirit of what Elfquest is all about, which is inclusivity, and just trying to make everybody feel, that this is for them and that they're welcome.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love it. So just one quick question. Now that we know that the audience reception has been so amazing, will there be more?
I think there have been no announcements about anything, but I can say this: there are always things in the works with Elfquest. Wendy and Richard Pini are never bored for interest in Elfquest. So I know that there are, for whatever shape it take or form it takes, whether it's another season of the audio movie, which I would love, or whatever the next thing is. There's cool stuff that is going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I know there were talks of like future episodes. I don't know, what is currently in the works, because we're kind of just enjoying, all of the work that David, myself, Fred, Fantasy Network, Richard and Wendy, all, Jonathan too, all put into this. The time it took to get all of the actors and making sure that everyone was able to record, all at the same time, or, with actors who couldn't record at the same time and had to, do it in their home studio, things like that. So there's a lot of work that goes into making an audio movie, and it was received really well. And I think that the Pinis would like to. I mean, it's completely up to them since they're in the chat. Okay.
Yay!
That's what I was going to say.
So it looks like they want
more. Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say, is that, this is the perfect opportunity for me to remind everybody, if you are not already, to follow all the Elfquest socials. Elfquest is on Facebook, it is on Twitter, it is on Instagram, it is on TikTok, and YouTube. So follow the Elfquest socials, because that's the best place where you can stay up to speed on whatever the latest projects are. And we are still, like, the season 1 Elfquest audio movie crowdfunding campaign is kind of wrapping up right now. The last of the rewards have gone out, and we're helping folks with get the items that some of the minis had some issues with being broken and that kind of thing. So we're finishing that up right now. So once that is wrapped and we kind of tie a bow on that, who knows what the next thing will be. But I think everybody would love to hear more, myself included.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. So as we're finishing up the show, where can everyone where's the best place for people to listen to the audio movie, David?
Well, again, you can find it on whatever your favorite podcast platform is on. It's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, just to name a few. But if you go to the Elfquest website, it's elfquest.com/audio-movie. You will go to the homepage on the Elfquest site here that has the ability to stream right there, and that's a good place to start. And the more people listen to it, the better it does in the ratings, and the more likely it is that there'll be more Elfquest to come. So that's just kind of the message that we're giving out all across the board. But that's a great place to go, and just you can honestly Google it and you'll find it.
Yeah, and definitely like share with friends too. Like, I mean, that's honestly the way that I got involved was, someone told me about it. So even if you just listen to the trailer, the goosebumps that you will get, if you don't yet want to invest into all 10 episodes, binge it like Netflix. It's mind blowing. And Yes, all the goosebumps like all over the place, like even on my forehead. So
fair warning, that's not going to happen. You're not just going to listen to the very first thing and then not want to keep listening. You are like, what's going to happen? And the drama, and the voices.
See, I'm the
like
kind
Pringles.
of person, I like to keep things out. Like I like to spread it out mainly because I want to be able to continuously listen to it. I hate when something ends and you're just like, what? Where's the rest? I want more. What's happening? Exactly. Elfquest audio movie season 2, please.
There you go.
Yeah, I think the comments from everybody that are listening to this are in agreement that we want more.
Yes. So this is your reminder, everyone. Go check out the audio movie. And for those of you that want to read the Elfquest series, go pick up your copy of Elfquest at your friendly local comic shop. And to find a comic shop near you, simply head over to comicshoplocator.com. So this is like such an amazing conversation, and we could probably go on for like 3 hours. But I'm getting the old, like, what is it, the cane to like end the show.
Drag us away. Yes.
So let's go ahead, and Abby, where can people find you? Do you have anything that you want to plug while you're here?
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. So I got a chance to celebrate last night with some friends at karaoke. But one of the films that I got a chance to direct and produce, which is a film about BIPOC women in the Senate. And we got a chance to interview 8 women. 6 of those women made it either into the Senate or are now the city prosecutor. And it just won an award at the Impact Docs Film Festival. And so I am now an award-winning director and producer. And so I was super duper excited about that. I'm currently working on a new Korean horror film that's going to be filmed here in Seattle. And we just got an approved budget for double the amount. And so
super exciting.
Yeah, right. It's something I have to talk to you about later, Mia.
Okay.
Super excited to do that. And get more into producing and directing. And it's definitely been a love of mine since I started out acting and doing VO work. And so I'm glad to take that next step and actually get an award for it. And so we're still finishing up the film festival circuit right now. But super, super duper excited and can't wait to do more Elfquest. Richard and Wendy. Richard and Wendy.
I love watching your like continual climb. It's so great.
Yeah, as the elves say, Abby, my ears hear all of that news with joy. When I said about that, like, it made me so happy. So congratulations. It's really amazing.
Yes. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. And my handle is BabsEck79 on all of the social media platforms. Not Facebook. I'm sorry. That's Facebook. So that's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram if you want to follow me. I'm always trying to post more fun things on Instagram, but thank you. Definitely always talking on the Book of Faces. So definitely come and hang out, come talk, and there's my website.
Perfect. And what about you, David?
Well, like Abby and Elfquest, I am all over social media as well. On Twitter, I go by my elf name, which is Thornbreak. So Thornbreak DM on Twitter. It's a new account. My old one got hacked. So if you're an Elfquest fan, I'd love to hear from you there because I'm trying to kind of build up my numbers there. So that's definitely a place to check me out. And then elsewhere, I am D as in David, and then my whole last name, D Mizajewski. On Instagram, you can search me by that name. On Facebook as well. I'm on TikTok too. And a lot of what I do on some of those socials is outside of the realm of Elfquest, but I'm a professional naturalist. I work for the National Wildlife Federation. I've mentioned that a whole bunch, my love of nature. So if you're into nature content and elves, you can follow me all of the places. And the thing that is upcoming for me, beyond all of this incredible Elfquest stuff, is an episode of the series Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. If you're of an older generation, you probably watched that in the 60s and the 70s and maybe even the 80s. They rebooted it, and a new series is out that just premiered. And today, a new episode dropped that I co-host. And it's all about mountain lions in California and Florida panthers and conservation efforts. So if you want to seek that out and see some of my on-camera work, you can do that. It's Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, and you can find that on their website. But tomorrow, bringing it back to Elfquest, I want everybody to mark your calendars. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be helping out with another live stream with an incredibly talented woman named Shoshi Bauer, who is a professional miniature painter. And she is going to be doing a tutorial on how to paint Elfquest minis. That's 3 p.m. Eastern. Follow the Elfquest socials. We have links everywhere for it. It's going to be on Shoshi's YouTube, and she's going to walk through materials, the how-to information, and share all of her expertise while she paints live on camera 2 of those new Elfquest minis that Abby showed earlier.
I was gonna say, are those the ones that have been popping up on the Facebook group?
Yep.
Those are amazing.
Saba right there.
She's so good at painting minis. What the heck?
Yeah, so everybody tune into that.
Yes, definitely watch that. Thank you both so much for coming on here. This was so great. I knew we were going to have such a fun conversation. We could go on for hours, but I just want to thank you both for coming on and chatting with me. So thank you
for
both.
inviting us, seriously.
Yes, thank you. It's always a pleasure to talk about Elfquest, but hang with other Elfquest fans since we're all scattered around the world. So sending you guys a big love, hug, and all that good stuff.
Thank you. Now for everyone else, if you have a graphic novel that you'd like us to talk about, leave a comment below and your choice could be picked for a future episode. This is also your reminder to follow us at PREVIEWSworld and Free Comic Book Day on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And finally, I gotta go away by saying that heroes are a dime a dozen, but comic fans are priceless. And we'll see you next time.